Back in the basement again today to talk about this Prime single stack unit. So far, I'm liking it a lot. I will do a full-on review of it, but one of the things I wanted to talk about today are some changes I've been making to this. So if you've been following me on Instagram, you're probably already aware of what I'm gonna tell you and show you, but I'm gonna leave links for everything as well below. Because even though this is a great unit, a premium unit at a premium price, I paid $4,200 for this delivered to my door, and that doesn't include anything outside of the unit, the lap pull down, and the low row attachment seat. I didn't get any of those fancy grips or pull downs, and I'll talk about that more in my review video. $4,200 or so delivered, $300 of which was for this custom white color, which I think looks awesome. Now, where my problem lies is that Prime is pretty staunch in not changing certain things. So I requested to get rid of all of their signature color, which is like this lime green or prime green, if you will. And they said, no, that's our signature color. It's gonna be on there. So anywhere that you see basically an adjustment point, a pull knob, the weight selector pin was this lime green color. And to be honest, with this color scheme, the white and black, any third color would have matched. Could have been blue, yellow, pink, purple, green, doesn't matter. It would have matched with just white and black. However, I didn't want it, and I've also seen other people get other color combinations like black and red, and then they have these lime green little knobs on there, which reminds me of like a Christmas Carol type rack, and it just doesn't match, and it seems kind of stupid that they are so staunch on not changing that when you're paying all that money for this, and they're really kind of a custom setup and a premium solution for a lot of people. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I switched out all of the prime green, or deleted it. I'll talk more about that in probably future videos as well, why I'm using that term, because I'm deleting everything from lots of stuff. But I'm going to talk about this video, just how I added it. And the good news is it's cheap, right? I spent $60, which is way more than you need to spend. Half of that price is just for the selector pin that I went with, which is another custom one, and I'll talk about that when we get there. All the pieces, and for the most part, I sourced from Amazon or McMaster Car. You could probably shop around and get better deals as well. I'm gonna link everything that I used in the description box, as well as just give you the basic specs of what you need to look for in case you want to go and look other places or locally even. So let's start with the very easiest thing to do, which is the lap pull down seat had two pull knobs on it. And really they just unscrew from the actual base itself. And then as part of that, you're just going to need some vice grip pliers or locking pliers, if you will. You grab the rubber screw head with one end, you add the shaft of the actual pull knob on the other, and you just twist, and the knobs just come right off super easy. Now, truth be told, I was really worried when I first started doing these things because I thought it was gonna be hard. I thought I was gonna break stuff, ruin stuff, and not be able to fix it. But the lap pull down seat was super, super easy. And the good thing is these pull knobs look really good. They're like a black oxide or a black zinc material. They have knurling on it, so that's pretty sweet as well. They might look familiar to you because, again, on Instagram, I posted how I swapped out my Kabuki round knobs on my transformer bars to these actual flat knurled knob heads, which I think are a big visual upgrade as well. They retail for like $4.50 each, and for this entire actual rack, you're gonna need a total of 3 of them if you're gonna do what I need to do. So again, really cheap and really easy. Once you get that actual old green knob off, you just screw the new one on, you put the actual plug pin back into both on the leg adjustment pad and the rear part, you just screw it back in, and it's simple as that. It literally probably takes a minute in total to do it. And again, it's really cheap and it looks really good. Now, I will say that on the actual leg adjustment seat, there are still some green stickers on there. We're working on ways to kind of get that resolved, but you don't see it because it faces in towards the rack. So kind of out of sight, out of mind, if you will. The next thing I want to talk about, which was really easy to switch out and do on this, was the actual selector pin itself. So the first problem I had with this is when I pulled out the selector pin, and it wasn't the same type of knob that was used on these other things, right? So it was easy to unscrew the actual pin itself, but the problem is I needed to get something that was attached to a bungee, because that's how Prime uses it on this. It's a bungees attached right to the head of the pull knob itself. And I could have probably just gone onto a site like Sportsmith and gotten something that was already pre-made for another unit in different shapes and sizes and colors, but I really wanted something custom. So what I did is I hit up my friends over at Bare Steel Equipment. I've been sharing their stuff on Instagram. They have these really cool custom weight selector pins that you can get in any color you want. This one in particular right now is just a steel color, but I have a Cerakote option on the way as well. And I went and paid extra to get a custom end cap on there. So it looks really sweet. It looks really cool. It has magnets all around the back and it fits great and matches great. and I think is a really nice upgrade. And that just has a simple hole on it, which you can put a key ring and attach a simple bungee. So again, I'll link the bare steel equipment pin that I used in the description box below. But just a side note for the bungee, I initially went onto Sportsmith, which I've used in the past to rehab the old Airdyne I picked up, if you remember that video. They have a ton of replacement parts for lots of equipment out there. And I bought, kind of sight unseen, a bungee from another weight selector pin system. It came in the mail and it worked, so to say, but this thing was beefy, super beefy, thick, solid, tight, springy, and black. It looked really cool, really heavy duty. It cost about 13 bucks. But the problem is it had a little bit too big for me, too much length, which is a problem that I wish I had in other aspects of my life. And although it looked really good and it was super heavy duty, the problem was when I was using it on maybe lighter weights, there was too much slack that in between the weights going up and down, there was the chance that the actual bungee would slip under the weight stack and get caught a little bit. So I wanted to avoid that. So I actually went onto Amazon and found some smaller ones, in fact, much smaller ones, but perfect. For about $5, I got a 5-pack of ones that are actually like a DS or, you know, a stylus thing that attaches to, people still use PDAs and things of that nature. That's what it was made for, but super cheap, super easy, super small, fits perfect, and doesn't allow for any of that little extra slack that I had on any of the other pins or bungees that I tried. And again, that one was much, much cheaper. And all you do basically is just swap out the 2 connection points, which you can either unscrew or, again, just using like a car keychain type deal, you just unclasp it and work your way around, put the new one on, and you're good to go. Super, super easy. And again, can be pretty cheap depending on what you're looking at. You might not even have to use a bungee itself if you really don't want to. I like the look of it a little bit better, but to be honest, here in the basement, you could probably get away with just using the pin itself. And I'll talk more about the pins and some of the other cool pins that I've gotten from bare steel equipment in future videos. Now, the thing that was most difficult for me was this thing right here. Let me put it down a little bit more in frame. This one gave me the most trouble and also gave me the most stress leading up into it. So the first thing I ended up switching out was these actual handles on the back of the adjustable cable column. Again, prime green, not my cup of tea. Talking to my friend Danny over at Infamous Strength, who I want to give a big shout out to because he was super instrumental in all this, helping me with part numbers and pieces. He recently actually switched out all his prime green pieces for red. I'll show some B-roll, some side pictures. He's been tremendous in this. He kind of walked me through all this so I knew a little bit about what I was doing. The first thing that I had to do for this was change these handles out, which he told me you just take a box cutter and slice them up and rip them off, which gave me a lot of anxiety because I thought to myself, I'm gonna slice these open, rip them off. I'm gonna mar up the metal a little bit. I'm not gonna be able to get the new handles on. It's gonna be a mess. But to be honest, it was super simple. Just a box cutter, cut it a little bit lightly at first. I have soft hands, big hands, but soft hands. Cut those through just so I didn't really scar up the metal too much, and they just came right off. And I got the other pieces for this on McMaster Car. Again, I'll link those in the description box below. The downside to these replacements is that you have to buy them in packs of 25. It's like 13 bucks for 25 of them, and you only need 2. So again, if you shop around, or maybe even hit me up if you need them, I can probably just sell you some for the cost of shipping because I have a lot extra and I can do some pretty weird things with them, so get them before I do that. But these kind of just push right on. I didn't have any trouble. They looked smaller at first, and to be honest, they're not as thick, but they look visually great on there. And I might try to look at some other ones that are kind of more dense in terms of the thickness, but it really doesn't make too much of a difference. But just push them right back on and they worked great. Didn't have any issues working them on because I'm used to working things on a small pole and tight fitting things, and it sounds terrible. You're welcome. I hope you're watching this video with your audio on and not headphones, and your significant other is walking by and saying, "What are you doing?" Because that stuff makes me very happy. So the only thing we had left was this knob right here on the front. And to be honest, I thought this was going to be super simple. I'm like, hey, I've done all the hard stuff. I'm in the clear. This one's going to be as easy as the ones on the lap pull down seat. Not the case, because this one, when you unscrew it, which all you do is pull it out, again, clamp it down, untwist it, what you'll find is this one is already threaded, whereas the other ones were not threaded. So this one's already threaded with a stud in there, and they use red Loctite or thread locker on there. And for all my worth, I could not get it undone. So I talked to, again, my boy Danny at Infamous Strength, and I said, how did you get past this one? I'm having a lot of trouble. He told me he used a blowtorch on it and basically melted off the cap. Then there's another metal cap under it and twist it off, work through the red Loctite, and that's how you do it. I don't have a blowtorch. And even though I'm somewhat confident in my skills after having done the rest, I didn't want to take a blowtorch to this. So I wanted to try a couple different options. Number one, I tried to work those vice grip pliers as much as I could. The problem is the rubber that Prime uses on these handles is pretty cheap, and those vice grips just chew right through it. So I ended up shredding up most of my other knobs there. So that was a little bit disheartening. That was my first attempt. The next thing I tried to do is I watched some YouTube videos on how to remove thread locker without actually using heat or flame, because that's what the company who makes red Loctite actually suggests, to really heat it up in order to get rid of it. And what I saw is couple people use like brake cleaner, spray it on, let it sit again, let it sit again, spray it, and then it will kind of dissolve and break it down. I tried that, again, no luck. And again, using those vice grip pliers just kind of chewed up the actual grip itself even more. I thought all might be lost and I'd have to go and buy a blowtorch, but then I had an epiphany. I thought to myself, this doesn't have to be that hard. I went on McMaster-Carr and I just looked for threaded studs. And what I found was a couple of them, and I bought two, for example, one that was 1 inch, one was like 1.5 inch. And I just bought both because I figured I would just use one of the extra knobs I have already from what I've already bought for the lap pull down seat and my Kabuki transformer bar. And I'll just see if I can thread it myself. And lo and behold, it was super simple, super easy, and also super cheap, because as I mentioned, these knobs are about $4.50 each. The threads themselves, the threaded studs that I got, were like $1 to $1.25 each. So for like $6, I was able to just go ahead and pop on this new one and good to go. I didn't have to melt anything. I didn't have to deal with any kind of frustration. Super easy in the end. So overall, this project was a lot easier than I thought. And again, I'm not overly handy. That's why I tend to spend more money on more expensive stuff or have other people do it, because I'd rather them do it and do it right versus me break something and then have to pay someone to come back and fix my mistakes. This whole project, super simple. In total for me, it cost $60, 30 of which is going just to be the base price for that bare steel equipment pin. I think it retails for $28 without any real customization. So if you take that out of the way and maybe just buy a basic pin, or maybe don't even use a pin, you're looking at a max of $30. And that's, again, without having shopped around much, just kind of going off of Danny's recommendations. But I think overall, aesthetically, it looks so much better, and I really dig the look. And I think it's usually an improvement because you don't have those cheap rubber knobs. You have these actual metal ones that are knurled, and kind of really matches everything else that I'm trying to do here in the gym. So that's how I deleted all the prime green from this single stack. Super easy. I'll link everything that I used in the description box below, as well as the specs for the threaded studs and for the knobs and for the rubber caps, in case you're looking for your own. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them, because I'm sure I'm happy to help you walk through any of this if you'd like to. If you are looking to do other colors outside of black, or even in some cases some red, I think you're going to run into trouble on McMaster-Carr, because I haven't seen many other options outside of just like a bare metal or stainless steel look, which still would look really cool, just might look a little bit different depending on the kind of look you are going for in your gym. So hope this video helps. I'm sure only like 5 or 6 of you probably actually have this prime unit and want to do it, but it's also a good handy tip if you have other machines that you bought off Facebook Marketplace and are looking to refresh or rejuvenate them. It's not as hard as you probably think it might be. So in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching, and stay big.